What's up guys, Chris Schwartz-Edmisten here from Schwartz-Edmisten Web Design. In today's video, I'm going to go over the best way to add a site border to Squarespace 7.1 sites. So if you just want the CSS and want to get out of here, go ahead and check out the blog post in the description below and just copy the CSS into your site. But if you want to learn how I'm writing this CSS, then definitely stick around. It'll be much more valuable that way. So right now, I want to go over the current solution that's out there and why I had to write my own. So if you go to the Squarespace forums, it's like one of the top results when you type in add a border to website 7.1. And this is the accepted answer right now. So this is what I copied and pasted into my site, and we're just going to go over all the reasons why this isn't the best solution. And starting from scratch this way is going to make more sense in why I wrote the CSS the way that I did eventually. So the way that this works, I'm just going to comment out this header targeting right here. So the theory behind it is that since all content is added to the body, what we can do is we can just add a border to the body. We can decide how thick we want it to be, and we can decide what color we want it to be. But the problem is that the header has a position of absolute or fixed, depending on if it's a fixed header or not. And absolute and fixed position elements, they don't adhere to the document flow. So you can see that all content is contained in the body, but the header has a position of fixed in this case because I have a fixed header set. And so it's not adhering to that same border. So what has to be done is the header has to be given a margin of the same thickness as the border, so 25 pixels on the top, the right. The bottom margin is set to 0 because there doesn't need to be any bottom margin, and then the left is also 25 pixels. So you can see once we add in that margin, then the header has equal amount of space around it as the site border. So with this method, it looks good initially, but if we scroll down the page, we'll see that there's a gap that's left when you have a fixed header. So that's definitely a problem. We want to use a different property. We want to make sure that the border is still maintained as we scroll down the page. Another problem is if we go into edit mode, the interface is kind of conflicting with itself, and these two buttons are kind of fighting each other, and it's hard to get to one because they're right on top of each other. So that's not a huge deal, but if we were to hand this off to a client, that could be very annoying or frustrating for them. And also as we scroll down the page, we also get a horizontal scroll bar. So it's just not very clean. It's not ideal, especially if we're going to hand this off to a client. So we have a cool technique that we're going to use to make sure that there's no conflicts in edit mode. Next, because we have the border set across two different properties, both border and margin, we have 4 different values that we have to change every time we want to change the size of it. If we can rewrite that and condense that down into one value, then I think we should. So that's definitely something that we're going to address as well. And lastly, this method isn't responsive. We're using fixed pixel values for the margin and border. So if we go down to mobile, we'll see how thick it still is. And even if we resize to tablet, you can still see that we probably want to set different sizes for tablet and mobile compared to desktop. And if you're wondering how I have this tablet preview, it's because I have the Square Tools Extension Pro. I made a video on that, so go ahead and check out that card if you want to learn more on that. So again, we can see in tablet view and mobile view, it's not the correct size. So if we want to change that, we're going to have to write media queries. So I'll write my tablet media query, and then I have to copy my border and my margin properties into that media query. I'll change all of those, and then if I want to change it for mobile, which I need to, I have to then write another media query for mobile, copy those properties in, and then change all those properties. So it results in a chunky block of code because we're having to write 3 different sizes for all those property for desktop, for tablet, and for mobile, because again, it's not responsive. So in our method, we're going to look at a way to make it responsive without having to use any media queries. Up above, this is where I'm going to start writing my new CSS. So I like the idea of adding the border to the body, but what I want to do is I want to add it to the body, and I also want to add it to the header. So I'm going to go ahead and select the body, and we can just identify the body by its element type of body, and then we can identify the header by its ID of header. So first I'm going to write body, hashtag header, In CSS, we target IDs with a hashtag, and I'm going to give it a border, and we'll do 50 pixels. It's going to be a solid border, and then we'll give it a color of red for now, just so it's easily identifiable. So right off the bat, as we scroll down with the fixed header, we can see because the header also has a border on the top of it, on all sides of it, it adheres to the site-wide border visually, like it's lined up with the body content. And also, as we scroll down the page with the fixed header, it has the border on top, so there's no more gap. And then what we can do is we can come down here and we can target the header again, and we can just give it a border bottom of none. And that just hides the border on the bottom because obviously we don't want it on the bottom of the header. So this immediately is looking much better than the other solution because we don't have that gap there. And as we go down to mobile, and let's edit the page. And as we edit the page, we still have the interface problem where we have this conflict. So the first thing that I want to do is just go ahead and get rid of this conflict here. We're just going to remove the site border when the site is in edit mode. And the cool thing is, if we right click on the page and go to the opening body, there's different classes that are added to the body depending on the state of the edit mode. So like right now, because we're in the edit mode, like I'm in the back end of Squarespace editing my site, a class of SQS edit mode gets added to the body. But when we click this edit button and we're actively editing the page, if I right click and click inspect and go back to the body, there's a class of SQS edit mode active here. So this identifies that someone is actively editing the page when this class is added to the body. So what we can do is we can target the body except for when it has this class. We don't want it to have a border when this class is on the body. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click none. I'll go back to my CSS, and we want to add a not selector. So we're going to target the body, but not when this class is present. And we target classes with a period. And now the body will disappear when we enter edit mode, but it's still not disappearing from the header. And that's because we also would need to add this body not selector in front of the header. So the header is within the body. So when the body gets that class, we also don't want bottom border. And I'd also have to add it in front of this header selector. But we can write this much more cleanly. But if I go ahead and click edit, you'll see that we no longer have the border around the site. There's no conflict on the interface. There's no horizontal scroll bar. Like everything is working properly, which is great. But we're repeating this selector 3 different times, which is completely unnecessary. We can take advantage of the less preprocessor that Squarespace uses to clean this up tremendously. So the first thing I want to do, because we want this selector in front of all these other selectors, is I'm going to copy this body not SQS edit mode active selector, and I'm going to open up some curly brackets. So now any other selector that I target within these curly brackets is automatically going to have this in front of it. So the next thing that we can do is we want to target the body again. So what we can do is we can write an ampersand, and then we can add a comma and then add our header selector. And the ampersand is just a placeholder for whatever the parent selector is. So the ampersand is a placeholder for this selector, since it's inside the curly brackets of this selector. So just when you see the ampersand, picture this. So all we're doing is we're targeting the body and we're targeting the header, but not when the edit mode is active. And then we can write our border CSS. And we also want to target the header and give it a border of none. So I'm going to copy this selector here, copy that, and paste it there. And since it's just one line of CSS here, I'm going to drag it up to the same line, just like cleans it up a little bit visually. So now we've turned all this CSS into just this few lines of CSS here. And if I get rid of that original and hit save as we go into edit mode, because that class has been added to the body and we're only applying this CSS when this class doesn't exist, then the border goes away in edit mode. Perfect, no conflicts. And the nice thing is this is super easy to change because we've condensed everything into one property. So here where we were managing multiple properties, border and margin, we had to write the value 3 different times in the margin. Here we just have it down to one single value. So I can change this very easily, and that's awesome. But what about the different screen sizes? So if I go down to tablet, it's still too big, and if I go down to mobile, it's definitely way too big. So how can we affect the size? How can we change the size of the border without having to write media queries? Well, it's through the use of the clamp property, which is awesome. So the clamp property, I'll go ahead and write it, open up some parentheses. The clamp property takes a minimum value. So let's say we want our border to be like 12 pixels. Then it takes the ideal value is a good way to think about it. So we'll say 4 viewport width units, and that's 4% of the width of the viewport. And then we'll say it can't get any bigger than like 80 pixels, for example. So what this is saying is make the border 4% of the width of the viewport, but don't let it ever get bigger than 80 pixels or smaller than 12 pixels. So if we go down to mobile, we'll see that this border is now much smaller. If we right click and inspect the body, we'll see that it's not actually down to 12 pixels. So if we look at the border, it's actually 14, almost 15 pixels. And that's because it's taking that ideal value of 4% of the viewport width, and 4% of the viewport width happens to be more than 12 pixels. So it's not getting all the way down to 12 pixels, but if it could, it wouldn't get any lower than that. So that's important to think about here. This is just an ideal value. But the nice thing is this is a responsive value since it's a percentage of the viewport width. As the viewport gets bigger, the border will get bigger, but again, it'll never get bigger than 80 pixels. And if we right click, or if we just pull up our inspect window again and look at the border size now, again, it didn't get all the way up to 80, but if it could, it wouldn't get bigger than 80. So I love clamp for situations like this, where in this CSS, it was super confusing and we had 2 media queries, and here, very clean, no media queries. So that's why I ended up rewriting this CSS and creating this CSS that I just showed you. It's because I think it's more effective and it's cleaner and easier to use. So for all those reasons, I think this is the better way to create a site border in 7.1.